Welcome to Grace Pilled, a podcast about the spiritual process and the mysterious forces shaping your life. My name is Hanna, and since 2015, I have been a practitioner in a classical Shakta tantric tradition, which informs literally every aspect of my life, including the things that I like to talk about. I work with people to recognize the deeply spiritual patterns that are shaping their life so that they can start moving with those patterns instead of against them. This show is that whole conversation out loud again and again and again. You can work with me through my website, hannawilliams.com, or join my Patreon for deeper teachings and ongoing Q&A sessions, also a community Discord server. I also have a 100% free human design resource on my website if you want to start your human design experiment. But for now, let's get into the episode. So before we jump in, I just want to offer a little bit of context for this conversation. Today's episode explores Neo Tantra through a conversation with somebody who has worked professionally in that world. And this entire discussion is not meant to be a definitive statement about Tantra, sex work, or sexuality, nor is it an endorsement or a critique of any particular path. All this is an investigation. And the reason why I'm saying this is because these subjects exist at the intersection of spirituality, sexuality, power, healing, commerce, and deep, often painful histories. And all of those things I just named are deeply personal subjects. And for many people, they're also connected to experiences of violence and coercion and exploitation or profound healing, which is something that we're going to be mostly talking about. And so it makes complete sense that conversations like this, what we're speaking of, things about sex work, bring up really strong feelings in people. And my hope is simply that we can just be curious together. I think it's possible to explore ideas without immediately deciding whether they belong entirely in the good or bad category. Let's just call that a tantric practice. Curiosity to me is not the same thing as agreement. I can be curious about something and not agree with it. And I'm not even saying anything about the conversation with me and Sarah. That's just the way that I experience reality. Sometimes curiosity is just the willingness to understand how another human being experiences the world. And I just need to stand up on my pedestal about that for a little bit because that's a principle that I live by. And so then I end up in conversations like this, where throughout this conversation, Sarah and I are exploring where Neo Tantra overlaps with and diverges from what I understand as classical Tantra, the tradition that I've been in for over a decade. And we're going to talk about sex work. We're going to talk about intimacy. We're going to talk about cis men and the beliefs that have shifted for Sarah about what men are through doing this work. And we're going to talk about the breadth of spiritual practice and how deep or surface level that can get. We're going to talk about the transformation of consciousness and how that's the bottom line of spirituality and the ways that people search for God through very unexpected avenues. And I don't expect everybody listening to agree with every perspective that's shared here, and I don't actually think that's the point. The point is to investigate honestly and ask good questions and see what there is to learn. I'm here. I was born to learn something. Were you? And to keep it so for real with you guys so that I don't make this seem so fucking serious right out the gate, we are laughing this entire conversation. This conversation was so much fun and so funny. And one of the working titles of this episode is How to Blow a Load Inside of the Meat Grinder. So this is a good time. And this is my opportunity to say, if you got kids around, maybe not for this episode. Very not safe for work. Let's get into it. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Grace Pilled.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have a really tough and mean conversation about Neo Tantra versus classical Tantra. We're gonna become enemies today, right? Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be like a UFC match of the century. Like I'm so ready to be so vicious and mad about this. I can't wait.
I know, totally. Yeah. So, what's gonna happen today is that I invited Sarah May on because we were actually working together because you approached me about learning more about classical Tantra after having lived experience and working experience in what we're gonna call like the Neo Tantra field.
Ew.
And so I got this idea where I was like, I just think it would be really interesting for us to have a conversation about the similarities and differences in like a lighthearted, curious way. This isn't actually going to be philosophical UFC. It's going to be a secret third thing of like what happens when we just talk about the spark of creation that's threaded between these two things, actually, which is the thing that is trying to pull us home anyway. We're going to get to that later, probably. But the way I want to start the convo is just like investigating you and who you are and how you kind of ended up in the role that you're in, the work that you do, and just what we're going to call this kind of like neo-tantric field.
For lack of a better word, that's what we're gonna call it
That's
for
what we're going to
now.
call it.
Yeah, I mean, I have my lived experience is I was informed of Neo Tantra or like erotic intimacy and ecstasy and it in a context of sex work and within a interdependent kind of dynamic where you need another person in order to do it. And I didn't
Mm.
understand necessarily the more classical aspects of it being like a religious and or foundational element of religious practices or a philosophical idea in and of itself. But me as a little human person, I came out the womb a very sexually adventurous person. I don't know what came out from another lifetime, but I out the gate like learned how to masturbate when I was 3. My parents, for all the whoopsie doodles that they did as parents, one thing that I'm really happy for is they were super open-minded in the parameters of being a curious kid, and they never told me anything like that was wrong. I was very like my father used to paint nude women. I would go paint them with him. Like the body was always kind of truly just a vessel of creativity and it wasn't objectified. It was kind of just appreciated. So I think having that influence and having that kind of primed from such a young age, like I learned what sex was. I was that kid on the playground who told everyone what it was in kindergarten. I I was kind of the like baby liberator, I guess. I don't know, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but like I
I
the
think
lack
we
of
all had a
judgment.
friend like that.
I was the friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was
you
the
were that
friend.
friend. I had a friend like that. I just feel like everybody had a friend like that. So,
So that was me. That was little Mame on the streets. But I so I kind of just was always a curious kid. Unfortunately, going into puberty, I hit that late, so I was watching all of my friends kind of get to do the things that I wanted to do, and I was like, shit, when's it gonna be my turn? Finally was being a teenager in the early 2000s, I definitely didn't have the same information that a lot of women do now of worth and time and energy and where to put it. So yeah, we fell into some curious things, but at the end of the day, my openness never really like got quelled. Like I definitely always was still sexuality was something that I just always was so exploratory and interested in. I feel like I was in non-monogamous relationships before I knew what that meant, or at least that I knew that for myself. Um, and it wasn't until like later on in my late 20s that I went to school. I went back to school and got my master's in acupuncture and herbal medicine. And that was a big 180 from where I was at in my life at that point. I was doing photography. I was also dating someone who wasn't worthy of my time. I don't know. I was living in Bushwick. I was on, which for anyone that doesn't know is a place in Brooklyn where dreams go to die. And at least mine. But for all good reasons, because I ended up going into this place that I never looked back. I had I've been almost 10 years including school, been a licensed acupuncturist in New York, which that foundation kind of informed the rest of my metaphysical and esoteric journey. Um
Can I pause you for a
and
sec?
yeah.
So, what I've heard so far is sex almost like thematically has been huge for you like your whole life, and like even with like all the ups and downs of like growing up and making mistakes and da da da, like that still was like a really big theme for you. And then you're living in Bushwick and you decide to become an acupuncturist, herbal medicine. Did something happen? Like, did you get like an inspiration? Did you hear about like what, how did that happen?
It was actually a moment where I realized that I was kind of just going to the same bars, doing the same drugs, interacting with the same kind of people that were starting to just kind of feel like an intellectual circle jerk of like artistry that I just wasn't really interested in. And I just felt like my ego being so present in all the things that I had to like ego derogatory, not ego complimentary, like the ego that was like, this is what you said you do, you went to school for this, you should do this, like you should be an artist, you should do all these things. And the more I would do that, the more I was like, this just is not fitting anything and it doesn't make sense. I also grew up in Woodstock, New York, which is a very hippie, like silly town. And I knew something, yeah, I knew I was creative. I knew I was like experimental. I knew I liked helping, healing people. I knew I liked learning about the body. And in my photography, like that was kind of a lot of the themes as well. And my nana, actually, my grandmother, her and I were sitting, and she's also a person that did transcendental meditation, and she did Reiki. Like she's just a little badass and someone I've always looked up to for those things. And she looked at me and she's like, if you could do anything, like don't limit yourself. What would you do? And I was like, I go back to school for medicine. I don't know what that means.
Ah,
I I just it was like it was truly like a call to action that felt very intuitive. It had no like it had a little bit of logic, but I remember when I told my friends, they were like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like that meant you're gonna go back to school, you're gonna be in debt, you're gonna be miserable. Like, what are you thinking? And it was just this like it really was a divine like intervention, and it just felt like I just was told to do this and I did it. And
but people who knew you were really surprised.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I suppose that was a little bit of fodder to like do it even better and like study a little bit harder, which like we love a little bit of
Prove
a
them
force in
wrong.
that. Prove them wrong. I definitely was still in a prove them wrong moment in my life. So yeah, I
But wait,
ended
but
up.
you're saying you kind of moved away from like trying to do a more artistically driven thing to doing something that felt like a 180 and going down the route of medicine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I didn't realize like going into studying acupuncture that I would also have to heal myself in the process. Like it was a very humbling, like
Oh, damn.
yeah, it was a very humbling experience to be like, oh, I drink a lot. Like I do a lot of drugs. I am not applying I chain smoke cigarettes. Like what am I? It was like this moment where I was like, I can't just like study these things. I have to like become them. And I think it was also a very real moment where I was like, these are things that aren't just to like feed my wallet or my ego or like my like the things that I thought I had to be. It was like, no, it's like, do you want to feel like as whole as possible? Um, and it was also my first introduction to like Eastern philosophy because you learn like the I Ching, you learn like Tai Chi, Qigong, like you do all the
Yeah.
things in order to understand why this medicine has a
Yeah, it's
lasting
like
power.
context building.
Yeah. Um, and from there, I started my practice. I started doing things. I still felt, a lot of life happened in between then. And I started kind of trying to find my way up in like what I was going to do. And I still kind of felt like I wasn't making a lot of money. I was still kind of like in a I don't really know what's next, but it's not this. And one of my best friends, who has done Neo Tantra for over 10 years at this point, she would always like come in and because she was living this like fabulous lifestyle, just like fluttering around the world. And I'd be like, what are you doing? And she's like, I give men hand jobs. And I'm like, that's crazy. What do you mean? And, she used other language, but I was always this person that like whenever I hear people did sex work, I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing ever. Like I remember being 16 and like
Oh,
wanting to be a strip. Like I wanted to be a stripper. I'm just too sleepy and I have hypermobility. So like it's not really in the cards for me. Um and 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 I got to this place where like it was this kind of really kismet moment 4 years ago where she called me the day I found out I wasn't getting a raise at this place that I was doing
you
really
were
well at.
doing acupuncture at this place
Yeah.
with you. Okay, keep going.
And she called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I fell in love. I don't want to do this work anymore. Do you want me to train you in it?" And I was like, literally the day I found out I wasn't going to get a raise. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's fucking
You're
right.
like,
Let's
I'm
go.
listening.
I'm listening. And like that moment, like I'm literally getting chills up my back thinking about it. Like it's just my life has changed. I feel like I'm so grateful to have been introduced to it at the time that I was, because I don't think I would have handled it as well. I don't think I would have seen the success I saw. I don't think I would have changed the things that I changed about myself in order to be where I am. Um, yeah, I just hit the ground running and I felt like it it was the greatest decision I ever made. It's opened so many doors for me, including the one where I learned about the fact that Neo Tantra is Neo Tantra is not Tantra. Um
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. It's like
I wouldn't have had the money to talk to you right now. Like
a
when I'm
hundred
like
percent.
when we worked together. Like it's just as funny that that's kind of just that
Yeah.
it fed itself, you know.
Yeah. Well, so my curiosity is like she calls you and she's like, I want to train you in this work. Are you able to speak to like what happened in that space? Like what did she train you in?
Yeah, so a lot of it she was like a huge component of being a I will just say a tantric sex worker for this because that's just how it's advertised. It's how people know it. Um, she was like, you already have this history, you have a master's in touching people. Like that's usually the hardest thing to teach people is like informed touch. And
Interesting.
yeah, like a part for anyone that doesn't know, like a part of Chinese medicine and acupuncture is pulse taking. Like it's diagnostics based off of energy. It's seeing better with your eyes closed. Like it's like you're using your hands and like I mean all the senses honestly, because smell is a huge every single sense is a component of diagnosis. But to have that already under as an undercurrent for me was like something that would have taken years to kind of hone in. So she was like, I'm really confident in that part for you. And I was like, cool.
So
And
you'd already done a lot of heavy lifting in that department.
yeah, which is great because
Unknown to you. Like you didn't realize that you had done all that work. That's interesting.
yeah, and she was like, you're already like one of the most sexually expressive and adventurous people I have in my life. Like,
Mhm.
I think that part is also a huge deterrent for people is like, it's the classic, oh, I could never, like that thing that people say when they hear you do sex work. They're like, oh my God, I could never touch someone like that. I'm like, cool, you don't have to, but like
We
but
apparently
it's
live in a
like
free country. No, yeah,
yeah,
we do.
sorry about it. So like, yeah, she was like that part of you being open to different types of people and non-judgmental and like being in space with people that maybe you're not attracted to, or maybe you are. It's like having that like kind of informed reality is also something that would take a while. On top of the fact that
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so she was like, so those things were kind of things that we would discuss. And what she taught me was A, how to be safe in the work, because that's also just another element that's less sexy but really fun, is like learning how to take care, like learning
Mm.
boundaries, learning how to tell a safe person from an unsafe person, where to work, how to work, what like sites are the best to use, and how to
Oh, she knew a lay of the land.
yeah, lay of the land was a huge component, and also teaching certain pillars that it's interesting because it's like I think I subconsciously just like had downloads of like Shakti tantric ways. Like we've talked about this, but like the styles with which I went approached like my sessions with my clients was like already kind of that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't because I learned it. But the things that so for every like Tantrika Dakini. There's so many words for them, but like the Magdalene manuscript is a book that's like Bible to the girlies. And that
I
was the
see.
first thing I was the first thing I read. What it is it's like I love it. It's just a really colorful like download of someone being like, okay, Mary Magdalene actually taught Jesus magic and it was sex magic. And these are the meditations that you can do to activate it. These are the things that you can do to bring it forward. It also goes through
Mm.
Egyptian, Buddhist, East Asian, like it goes through every like Neo Tantric application of what that looks like. And all of it is this, and the thing that is the funny thing is like what it is it's a connection to God. Like that's what it is it's
Mm.
having this
Mm.
alchemical process of being interconnected to connect to something bigger than yourself.
Let me make sure I'm understanding you. Are you saying that like so the Magdalene manuscript, it goes through a lot of shit and then and then it also crosses like a lot of different traditions and tries to bridge the gap together, but the thing that you're saying is that like the thread underneath everything is that the practices themselves ultimately are about connecting to God. Is that kind of like what you're saying?
It's what I've inferred, absolutely. It's
Okay.
like when they go through like what an ancient Egyptian tantric practice would be, it's like charging your physical body with your soul body in order to generate enough chi or life force to then like go up into the ether to like meet your like
Oh.
ethereal self with another person and like essentially like
Oh,
fuck like God.
so
You fuck like
it's
gods.
almost like is there almost kind of like a theme of like gathering prana in the body to kind of force certain states of consciousness? Does that
Exactly.
make sense?
And they use a different word for it. It's Katfadi, I believe, and that's the language that they use. But exactly, it's just another phrasing for it,
Yeah.
kind of the same outcome. Um,
Something that's coming up for me so far in this discussion, because you were just saying ancient Egyptian tantric practice, and I think a religious scholar would have a stroke just like dealing with that
oh,
sentence. But no.
yeah.
But the thing
No,
that's
I know.
coming up, the thing that's coming up for me is so I've spent a lot of time with Sufism, which is a form of mystical Islam, and something that I picked up on over the last like 10 years is that there's this thing where it's like you Sufism isn't really a religion. And it's also a thing where it's like there's no Sufi mosques. It's like in people's backyards that they meet up historically. And you can be like a Sufi Christian, or you could be like a Sufi Jew, or you could be like a Sufi Taoist or something. And so, like, there's this thing where it's like you can have like a Sufi twist on an existing tradition. And I think the thing that has happened with Tantra is that there is a tantric twist that can go on to something else
Yep.
that's speaking to something that's real. But the thing that gets confusing historically is like, is that the classical tantra thing for realsies, or is there a whole other thing that's happening that might just be mysticism, period? Like it might just be mysticism.
I know, I totally agree, and I kind of was like laughing in my head when I said it out loud because it's like reading that book the first time, I was like not questioning a single thing. I was like, just absorb it like it is just the gospel. Like just like read through it. Obviously you gain more discernment as you start practicing things
For
and you're like,
sure.
wait a minute. But I think it's also goes without saying, it's something you and I have talked about a lot, is like the inherent and like unavoidable intersectionality that has created the, I would without a better word, westernized approach to all of the adaptations. It's like,
Yes.
and even acupuncture is the same way, where it's like we
Yes.
only know so much based off of like the people redefining it and putting it in English. It's the same shit. It's like you
Totally.
you kind of just have to like, it's like you can pick certain things to believe and like hold in your heart that that's the right thing, and that's all. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all you really can do. But like all of those explanations and all of those reasons that like Tantra and Neo Tantra kind of are so confused and then conflated is because there is the influence of the West within these practices that sometimes have nothing to do with the thing that they started out as.
Totally. Totally. Or like there's just like, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to be like a separatist or like an essentialist about anything, but like the psychology of somebody who was born and raised in India and spends their whole life there is going to be fundamentally different than the psychology of somebody who's born in the United States and spends their whole lives there. And I mean that in the sense of like your psychology is so different that your literal view of reality is different. And so you take the source materials of these traditions and you plop them somewhere with people who have fundamentally different views of reality, it's going to get lost in translation. I think our expectations are too high, frankly. Like, how could it not happen?
Right. And it's like, I mean, and it's like a very simple example of that is like in a lot of text in like more erotic tantric spaces, people say that tantra means to weave. That is the translation. And it's not. It's not. And it never was, as far as I've been aware from the books that I've read and that you've told me. And it's like this thing where it's like, holy shit, like there are so many published works that like teach
Yeah.
people this practice that has and it's not and it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Right. But here's the thing that I think is interesting because I think we're both very curious people. And so we literally talked about this the other day, but like, so people are like attached to this idea that tantra means to weave. Like people are so attached to that idea. But the thing that I find interesting about that is like, why are they attached to the idea? And like, what is that speaking to? And like, what spiritual desire is getting met through people's attachment to that definition?
You know, I would say that as a Westerner who has dived into a lot of Eastern philosophy, I think having elevator pitches and edible little tasty sound bites of what things mean make you feel. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be just a Western thing, but I think to have like a safety and like a simplicity to it, um, creates the access and confidence to practice it, whether or not it's where it came from or not. Um, but I think the weaving part also is like, I mean, it's not far off, right? Like it's not the,
No,
because
it's
at the,
just
I
not
mean,
actually the definition.
you're right.
I think the tradition is in essence, in many ways, about weaving things. I mean, there are dualistic streams of tantra, but like I think the reason why people are attached to the word weave is because they're actually just interested in looking for non-dual spirituality. So let's just
Oh,
call it what it is.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Like they just
Yeah,
want
they're
to
like,
see God as everything and turn the whole life into a spiritual practice. Can we just say
right.
it's that's the thing that's happening? Which is
Can
fine.
we do it? No, totally. And but that is the thing that like I always kind of loved about doing like tantric sessions with my clients is that like that was the thing I always brought into it
Yes.
without knowing that that was actually
Yes.
a philosophical boundary within it. I was just like, no, the whole point of this is to surrender, devote, and persevere. Like the whole point of this is what can you relinquish in this moment? And sex is a place where we need so much relinquishing, especially under a patriarchal hellscape. Like it is something that where if there is, because I predominantly work with cis men in it because they're the ones that reach out and honestly need it the most. And I think there's a beauty to watch people that I would look at. I mean, now I don't, but before I did this work, I would look at and be like, wow, you are really tight wound. There is no way that you are receiving touch in
You
a
need
way
to get
that is
unweaved.
you need to get on with talk about get over here. I'm gonna make you unmake that basket. But yeah, like like there's something to be said about the fact that like I I feel really grateful that that ended up being my findings in it, even if it wasn't what I thought it was. And I mean, that's also gives me faith that that is kind of what happens to other people that do this work, is even if that's not where they started, it's where they end up.
I think if God is really somebody's path, God will find them wherever they end up.
Hell yeah. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why so many of us fucking exist, is because it's like,
Yes.
how many different beautiful ways can we all get to the same answer?
Yes. 100%. It's so interesting for God. She's going on
Yeah.
this journey
She's
through these people. It's so interesting.
yeah. And it's also given me that light too. And especially like after working with you for some time, I think the the gift of being able to receive that and be like, I am experiencing life because of something outside of myself and
Yeah.
inside, and but also coincidentally inside of myself. But it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just me. How lovely is it? It's not just me.
Yeah.
And the evocation of that in session with me has tenfold translated into my real life. Like it not only helps other people, it became a container for me
Yeah.
to, and continues to be a container for me to discover those things. The tantric sessions that I have done over the last 3 years or 4 years at this point, have really created this like godlike experiment container, just this place that is not just for them, it's also for me. It's this
Mm.
place where I get to use like a, like almost like a microcosm of all the things that I learn in the philosophy, in a way more profound way, and then allow it to kind of permeate and be more of my personal life as well. Um, it's been interesting that it's become more of like a confidence building container in that way for me.
Oh.
Um,
For
not
yourself or for your in both and with your clients or
Honestly, both. I would say I didn't really, I remember one of the first things I said to my one of my best friends when she trained me in it. She was like, what do you feel like now that you're starting this? Like what's kind of your goal when you start doing this work?" And I was like, to be honest, I know I'm ready for the next step. I have no idea what it is, but I know that this is where it's supposed to be.
Mm.
Um and and that's where it was.
Mm.
Like I stopped drinking. I've been sober since I started. I have never had more abundance in family, friendship, finances. Like it catalyzed. So what I would go to
Mm.
so far as to say is that like it's been a tantric journey because I have trusted the process. I've been in this like phase of just like welcoming all of these things, and it hasn't all been rainbows and fucking sunshine. Like obviously I'm a human being. I live in multitudes, but like it's given me the childlike wonderment and curiosity that like I didn't think I could get back.
Yeah.
Which is to me
That sounds like a
the re
spiritual state of consciousness in my
right,
world.
like it's right in my humble opinion, it feels like I like am seeing things through her. Like I'm
Yeah.
seeing things through a godlike lens. And another thing that I know you've touched on and imparted on me is like it's not that fucking complicated. It's like, and I think that like the ordinary liberation kind of concept of all of those things where like it the things just become so much simpler when you look at stuff like that. Things become less personal, things become less horrifying or fantastic. It neutralizes things in a way that like could sound kind of sad, but it's not.
I get
And
you.
and as a former addict, like yeah, neutral scary until it's not.
Mm.
And
Until it's blissful.
until it's fucking bliss.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what
Hmm.
the philosophical tantric side has imparted on me, I would say.
Yeah. But I think I'm hearing you say that like even what we're calling the Neo Tantric side has transformed your consciousness as well.
Totally. Totally. I
And
think it go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say that I think like the most baseline thing spirituality should be doing for us is transforming our consciousness on some level. I think that's what separates spirituality from like just philosophy.
Yeah.
Like something is happening. Like you know,
It's yeah, so
where that something goes is a whole other question. But like if you're transforming if your consciousness is being transformed, like something's going on, you know?
absolutely it allows you to kind of have like a borderline or literally synesthetic kind of reality because you get to be playful, you get to make things mean whatever you want them to. And I think that's what it invited the strongest is like
Yeah.
it, and being in. And also in the past same amount of time I started a therapy called internal family systems or IFS, and I would say that was actually my first tantric journey. That I could say like in a literal framework, not like just like the essence of existing, but like because that therapy, which fundamentally changed my life, and I feel like when I learn more about old school Tantra, the
Yeah,
OG
yeah, yeah,
Tantra,
yeah.
um, it's like they totally pulled from it, like whether they knew it or not, because it's about identifying that there is a highest and wisest self within the system that is you. And that as you continue to be a person, different parts come online. They don't know what time it is. They don't know what year it is. They just know how to work and try to save your life.
Oh, sounds like the
And
ego.
yeah, but in the IFS world, the ego is like not just it's like the ego split. So it's like you just like I have a judgmental part of me. I have like a manic little silly goose part of me. And the whole point is like you go deep dive into these parts of you, find out who they are if they know you as your
Yeah.
highest, wisest self, and not, and this is like going back to tantric philosophy too, is it's not about telling them they're bad, they're good. It's finding out what they needed at the moment of conception, at the moment that they were created to protect you. And at the end of the day, the whole slogan is no bad parts. There are no bad parts of you. But what happens when you approach those things with curiosity and and God like in appreciation, because
Yeah.
it is a part of the system.
Yeah.
And what happens when you reparent those parts of you is a spiritual awakening as well, because it is the mother. It is that kind of divine wisdom of like mother to mother to part.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
feel like the phrase "no bad parts" is inherently tantric to me, and I that's actually the premise of enlightenment for regular people, which was this talk that I gave a few years ago about just like self-love. Like if you can just radically accept yourself as you are, that's step one on this path,
Yep.
baby. It's the groundwork.
It
Not living
really
in
is.
resistance to any part of yourself, like that, let's call it tantric. Why not?
Truly. I think that was one of my favorite things to read. I think it was in Tantra Illuminated too, where it was like that whole explanation of that. And when I read that, I was like, well, that is what an erotic session can look like, you know?
Fascinating. We say more about that.
Because so the way that I have my sessions kind of laid out is there's a skeleton to it. Obviously, every person's a little bit different, but once they come in my space, we do a drop in and we do like I give them a guided meditation. I bring them into like a more like humble state of being, more or less. As you've put it before, like the airlock between states, kind of just
Yes.
being like, okay, like you got here real fast. Thanks for getting here. Like let's put everything else out. I do a bit of a neo-tantric visualization where you kind of like build what's called a microcosmic orbit, and it's kind of like an energy loop through the body. And it's similar and is like chakral in alignment. It's kind of like it's learning to breathe into your like sacrum, lower root, heart, up through third eye, like do a fun little dance and let it out. Depending on where that person's at too, because you kind of have to like obviously like you got to see what's open and what can be opened. And then I typically will ask them if they have any boundaries, anything that I should know about, and I'll always let them know mine as well. And I'll do a bit of like an embrace with them and kind of hold them and just like let them feel what it feels like to just be fucking held. Because like there is, like in Western stuff, like they're like, yeah, oxytocin gets released after X amount of like seconds when you're being hugged. Like it is literally medicine. And I think for a lot of men, receiving that without a catch is really confusing. Like they're
A
like, wait,
hundred.
yeah, like how
Yeah.
long? And my favorite thing to do is I'm like, how long can you sit in this hug? And that's the point of it. And ironically, not, that is a big difference between two. It's like, how slow can we lock into this hug? Like, how slow can you sit with this and feel something outside of yourself and then inside of yourself and then breathe into it and like use all faculties to come online. And then depending on the style of session, there is like it's like body work. So there is a bit of like I do Reiki, I a bit of what's called Nuru, which is like I get on the table and I basically use them as like a human reformer and I just like slide my whole body on their body.
Hmm.
And it's just stuff that like most people will never do in their entire life. It's just like it throws all the things that you think you know about sexuality on its head. It's like, why do I like the
Whoa.
feeling of this person like doing X, Y, and Z to me?
Whoa.
But the whole
Yeah.
point is to be a container where you don't need to feel judged for it and you don't need to feel like anything is wrong with you for liking one thing or not liking one thing. And um yeah, the end of the session it ends with what we call a lingam massage, which is the correct, terminology, but it is, for the lack of a better word, like it, like we, we all have different names for it, but it's like, it's a happy ending massage. It's like a divine one. It's like from like a godlike persona. Like
Hell
it's like
yeah.
you are like literally hand to God. Like,
Right.
um, and
Right.
And there's something about people receiving too in that way where it's like you get to receive that, like it's not always a happy thing for people. Like it's like they're like, I'm being observed, I have to surrender, I have to be
Yeah.
in this space of like
Vulnerable.
be vulnerable. And a lot of this style of tantra is about eye contact and like remaining in like a loop with someone, and
Mm.
it puts people who aren't usually vulnerable in a very vulnerable state, and I find that a very curious kind of thing. And it is like the CEO effect of like doming as well, where you're like, you know the biggest CEO like loves like sucking on toes or like getting like or like
You
getting
heard it here first, guys.
not always, but there is a true like also like it's like every like dom trope that like you
Yeah,
see on
100%.
TV, which like yeah, obviously it like is true to a certain extent. But yeah, there's something to be said about this like very vulnerable process with people who choose to pay to be vulnerable too, which is the
Yeah,
craziest thing, right?
totally.
Like that's the thing that always I'm like, that's so cool that you're willing to put your money in this place that like you have no idea what the outcome is. And I think that just
Yeah.
allowing these and and it is nice to see that like these people that I would never have suspected to want that for themselves are willing to try it. And it's medicine. It is.
Mm.
It's like I'm also a firm believer that like you're like I mean, I think a lot of people are coming onto it where it's like your sexual health is like a huge pillar in the rest of your health. And it especially in a place where like we do have like so much violence against like because of sexuality, like we live in a world where that's just a thing, like to have the openness for people to be soft in that way, like
Yeah.
listen, if I can make
Yeah.
one man not be aggressive towards someone,
Yeah.
that would have been worth lifetimes of this job, like
Yes.
to make a long story short, that's kind
Yeah.
of where
Yeah. I think the thing that's really sticking out to me with what you shared is we're going to say these cis men show up and you put them in a session, and the way that you kind of set it up and hold the space becomes something that's like really strongly mind expanding, because in any other situation they probably would never actually have that experience, like you saying we're just going to hug and you don't have to do anything. But then like it's almost kind of like with sex, it's such a thing where it's like on a society level it's so taboo that we like barely ever talk about it, but we also are obsessed with it. But we all kind of have an idea of like this is what happens when you have sex, and we have like weirdly rigid ideas about that. And then somebody with
yeah.
like rigid ideas about that comes into session with you and you're like, but we're doing this other thing. And then that could be like a mind shattering experience in a way that's almost to me has like an initiatory quality to it, where it's like when the mind gets like shattered like that, like something really interesting can start happening.
Oh, yeah. I've Some of the things that I've seen from my clients and sessions are like the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Whoa.
Like there I remember this like man like in his like 60s maybe. He was like convulsing on the table in like not a pathological way. And he was like, I just came, but I didn't come. And I was like, yeah, dog. And it's just stuff like that where you're like, this man just went 60 years of his life and just learned something new. And he's like, what the fuck? I can
Yeah.
do that. And he felt so excited and empowered. He's like, I can do that. I was like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Um, and and
Yeah.
it's things like that, and it's that are just so for me fun to see. Like I love my
Mm.
work because of those things. And some people would be like, "Oh my God, I could never." And I'm like, "Yeah, I could never sit in an office." But yeah, like things like that, like just I do wonder, like, I obviously love me an energy transference. I do believe that there is something there. I also do think that money is an energy transfer. So I think the concept that if someone is giving you something, they do placebo is real. They placebo it, right? Like it's like you come in, so you are expecting something and you probably will give it to yourself. So like, fuck yeah. I'm really glad that's what's happening for you. Um, yeah, there's been times I've had people find out that they are not straight in the middle of a session. Like, yeah, like people have been like, I can't believe I've never said that out loud. I come from like a really repressed family. Like, I can't believe I've been saying this to you. And since then, they've like really explored their sexuality.
Whoa.
Like, so they had this like sexual awakening in a heteronormative context about their new
Yeah.
desires. And I still see them and they're like,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think something, okay, this is so random. This is just my brain doing the things that it does, but I read this sci-fi series by Becky Chambers, and I can't remember which of the books it is, but it's the one about the people who were born in space. Spaceborne Few. The Record of a Spaceborne Few. That's the name of the book. And in this book, it's like a kind of like it's about an entire culture of people who like live in these like communities in deep space. Okay. And it's like they've literally created like a new culture and they have like very liberal views of reality and like what is good for people's health, like living in deep space. And also, they live in deep space because the Earth is dead. And so they're trying not to recreate the things that like killed the Earth. Okay, I'm giving way too much context here. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because in this book, there's like one of the like spaceships with these communities of people on it where people go to like a brothel and it's like paid for like by the government of space and it's completely untaboo and like everybody goes there to get like sexual healing or to like get their needs met in ways that like they can't because they just haven't found a relationship or like whatever, but it's like completely normal. And I feel like that's coming into my head right now because in the book it's like people experience like awakenings or like sexual healing or like whatever like in these like completely normalized brothels, and I just feel like our culture, the thing that could heal us so much, we just have completely hidden away into so much taboo space. And I just kind of wish we have like hundreds of years of healing to go through for this to actually be something that I think could be truly supportive. But it's like it
Yeah.
just seems so obvious to me that like the work that you're doing is so fundamentally transformative in the lives of people that I just wish we could be mature enough as a culture to just let that be the case. Okay, that was my tirade
Right.
about that.
Oh, I loved it because it's so true. And it's also like the oldest fucking profession in the
Yes.
world. Like it's like, why do we pretend it doesn't exist? And then there's this part of me that's like, because I think there is this element of like fetishization that it is the kink itself. Like it's like, oh, like there is a secretiveness
Yeah,
that like people get turned on by.
totally.
And I do, like sing it to the cows come home. I just feel like
Hmm.
without the patriarchal lens of it, like it probably wouldn't exist, right? Like this need to have these things in a taboo way. Like they don't have to be
100%.
taboo. Um, and that is the irony. But it's like it would still it could exist in a way that is
Yeah.
silly and fun and safe and the girls that have trained me, like the women and men and thems that have come before me, that
Yeah.
have made it as safe as it is now, like, is not lost on me
Yeah.
because it is
Yeah.
not that way for so many people.
Yes.
And like there is, I do feel like as much as there is like a resurgence of conservatism and, nuclear family bullshit and all these things, like there is also the extreme polarizing end of it. And the irony is that they end up, kissing in the middle because the same
Yes.
people that want the nuclear family and want the,
Yes.
capitalistic like hellscape are the ones that are coming to me. So I get to be
Oh
a
my
sexy fucking
God.
Robin Hood and like, like give sliding scale acupuncture to my like clients who can't afford it, Because I'm like, guess
Yeah.
what? I don't, and that's my trickle down economics. Like, truly, I'm like, this rocks. I get to like kind of make these people see the light, at least to a certain extent. And some of them maybe never
God.
will. That's okay. Not my,
I know, but it's doing quite a bit. It's making an
totally,
impact.
totally. And then but I also want to like, conduit it the other way and like, how can I impact it in
Yeah.
other forms? And
Yeah.
that feels important too. But yeah, I feel so grateful that I exist in the safety that I currently have because it could be so much different
A
and it
hundred
has been so
percent.
much different and is.
100%.
But
100%.
but
That's what I'm
again,
saying. I feel like we have a lot of work to do
oh yeah.
to get even
Yeah.
like remotely close to the vision of us really realizing like, oh, we can like heal sexually in like safe environments where people are trained to like hold us in all of these things. Like, oh my God.
What? And like, yeah,
Ugh.
there are places, yeah, it's like there are places like Oregon where like everything is legal and they have like
Right.
the hugging,
Oh
like
yeah,
people that just hug you. Um,
totally.
and I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah. So I had a question that was kind of rattling around in my head that maybe we've kind of already spoke to a little bit, but I just want to ask it like the average, let's just say the average man who shows up, what do you get the sense is the thing that's like drawing them in? But then what's the thing that they actually end up getting?
Huh. Ooh, okay. There's different archetypes, I would say, of individuals that come to me specifically. Um,
Yeah.
and I always do an intro call, and I have a couple other like things for protective reasons to accept a client. And typically, like within the first 5 seconds of the phone call, I know exactly which archetype they are.
Wow.
Um, but no matter what, well, okay, so I'm trying to answer this
Wait, can
as
you speak
like
to the
there's
archetypes? Can you like speak
sure.
to that? I'm just so curious.
Well, I also work in different cities and there's like different types. There's like the I don't have enough time to be polite, but I end up being like a super chill client kind of thing. Like they're like, oh, I'm just busy. I'm a businessman. Like I have to like, I
I'm
can't
trying to get my
answer your,
rocks off. Like, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I'm like, I can't, literally, they're like, I can't answer your questions. And I'm like, but, and it's funny because the whole point of coming to me is to slow the fuck down.
Yeah,
So
that's so
like,
funny.
I do kind of find it funny when they're like that. And then they end up either being very short and very like they don't actually care about how much time they paid me. They just want to have an experience where they get off. Totally. That really is an archetype. I've been really lucky. I've mostly weeded out a lot of those. I don't have that many anymore. Um, but the most people I have been getting are people that are touch starved. Like it really is
Mm.
just at the end of the day, they're like, I don't want a traditional escort or a traditional like a parlor massage in this. I want to have the extra element that Neo Tantra provides, where it's intimacy, it's learning something about myself, it's something that I can't explain, but it's the type of provider relationship where they feel an actual relationship. Like they feel like they're being seen, their needs are being met, they're speaking to someone that like wants to know how they're doing and how they are. Like a lot of my sessions, like for the first 30 minutes, we're just talking. Like intimacy, people,
Mm.
it's really sweet to see. Like most people that I work with are really there just for intimacy. And what I was gonna full circle with all the
Wait, but
archetypes, no
do they
matter who,
know that about themselves, or is that what they
yeah,
find out about themselves?
almost all of like so many of my clients at this point, because I'll ask them, I'm like, what brought you here, especially if it's your first time. Like this is objectively a weird fucking thing to want to do if you
Yeah.
know nothing about it. And they're like, and it usually is they're like, I have, it's loneliness. It's like I feel a desire to not be, to know that like by having this exchange, like there is no way I could be rejected kind of thing, you know? And but at the end of the day, the biggest element of it is that I've really removed my judgment. Like I can discern whether or not I want to work with someone, but I've removed my judgment of the style with which they would like to do it because that's the fun of it. I'm like, all you're looking for is intimacy. You're looking for someone to listen to you, for someone to touch you in a way that feels like they're like listening to your body.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of, you know, and I do get a good chunk of people because this style of work is really good for erectile dysfunction or even people with like sex addiction, people with like porn addiction, because it puts them back in their body. Like it puts them right the fuck back in and allows them to experience something. And that tends to be a huge draw as well.
Mm.
And I also get a lot of people who have other partners who are in sex work and they're like, I love what they do. And I think it's really cool. And I now know so much about it that I want to, you know, be be a participant. And I'm like, cool. So you get it. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would so yeah, across the board, it's truly a form of intimacy that they're trying to figure out within themselves.
So, do you feel like thematically you notice different kind of protection mechanisms that these people have in place when they show up, and then you get to kind of skillfully kind of break that down?
Oh yeah. Um, it's honestly really sweet to see. It's like there's some people that are very chatty
Huh.
and I love it. Like I love a chatty Kathy. I'm like, yeah, let's sit down. I'm like, you tell me everything you did today. I love it. And they're like, oh my God, so much time went by. And I'm like, yeah, you needed it. You know, it's like for
Huh.
them the talking because there is a level of like courtship in it. Like there is some people don't do that though. Like I'm definitely someone who has a more fluid boundary of like talking a lot more with my clients and like getting to know them because they do want to a certain degree like a relational experience in that way.
Yeah.
Um and to not be seen as like boring or like that their thing isn't important. You know, it really
Yeah.
is the like I would like my experience to be validated. And I think also for them there is that like fantasy of like that it is a date.
Yeah.
So they would like to feel like it's a date because they're talking to you.
Oh, 100%.
So there's a nervous talker for sure. There's also like a
Well, men are like that on dates anyway, so
oh, absolutely. Honestly, I feel like I said this to you last time we talked. I was like, I've had way worse dates than tantric sessions.
like
Way worse dates than tantric sessions. I've run out of a date sprinting, like
yeah.
because I was so bored. And like
Yeah.
I've only
That's
had maybe
interesting.
yeah, I've only had maybe two sessions out of the like
I love
hundreds
it.
that I actually like had to say something in, you
Mhm.
know, and be like, What's going on here?"
That's so
So yeah,
sweet.
yeah, yeah. It also is really reassuring that like there are this many like people, men out there that like want to be respectful.
Yeah, okay, that was gonna be my next question. Do you feel like in the time that you've been doing this, like, can you name any beliefs that you previously had about men that you no longer have?
Yeah. Um, oh my God, there's so many. There's so many. Let me think, let me narrow one down. Uh that men don't know no, that men don't understand the meaning of no.
Mhm.
That like boundaries that because I'm in a position where I shouldn't I went into the work not really understanding my own boundaries as much because in my real life I didn't also. And I thought that I had to be fully available to my clients in a way that I don't need to. Like in the sense that I was like, I wouldn't tell them if I didn't like the way they touched me, or I wouldn't tell them if I didn't like them kissing a part of my body. And now I'm like so enthusiastically vocal about those things.
Yeah.
And it flipped the switch in my thing where I'm like, no, they love direction. They love like it's like, oh my God, they're so relieved. And also like they don't want to be seen. And I was also like, well, I'm just a whore. Like, what are they like? What are they gonna do to me? Like, they
Mm,
can do whatever they want to me because that's what they're paying me, and like, they don't
mhm.
want to do that either. Like,
Oh,
9 times out of
interesting.
10, they're like, no, I want you to feel safe because of what you do. And I'm like, well, that was not
Huh.
what I thought. I did not think that was the game coming
So
into
that really
this.
surprised you.
Absolutely. And like, yeah, and especially in this dynamic that they're asking for, there is a bit of Dom sub isn't necessarily like what I would call it, but there is a dominating and submissive dynamic where they're looking to submit. They're looking to be in the presence of a more dominating feminine energy. Um, and and they mean that for the most part. Sometimes you have to tell, sometimes you can tell when they don't, and you have to be like, hey, like simmer down. But like I remember I had one client that was like grabbing my boob and then trying to like go down like to my butt and was just like it literally felt like when you were a kid and you would pat the top of your head and then rub your stomach at the same time to like brag that like you could do both at the same time. And I literally stuck and it was like and it was that was actually like a moment early on in my work that I remember so vividly because I was so proud of myself. And I stopped him and I was like, "Where's your energy right now?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I can tell that your intention is going to neither hand."
Yeah.
And he was I think I think like fireworks went off in his brain. Like he like got the most like enamored puppy eyes I've ever seen. And he was like,
Whoa.
"You're so smart." And I was like, which obviously is like, yeah, thank you, man. Like I think so sometimes. But it's those moments where it's like you kind of shatter the illusions that like speaking your mind in sexual context is unsexy.
Yes.
And and again,
Yes.
full circle into like
Yes.
godlike the godlike ecstasy to me is that it's not the penultimate like ejaculation element, which also is the point of tantra too in this section, but like it's not about that. It's about what you learn in the juicy ass middle between when you got there and when you're leaving.
Mhm.
Like what did we uncover, and where can you apply that to the rest of your life? I think sex is a vehicle
Yes.
to explore those things, and that is capital T Tantra about it, is that like it is
Yes.
the V for me, and for a lot of people, it is the vehicle with which I get to like get closer to
Yeah.
God.
I think I used the word arena the other day when we were talking about this. It's like an arena of growth or an arena of practice. And the arena isn't the point, but you
Yeah,
learn a lot in the arena that bleeds into other areas of life.
totally. Because it's yeah, like we all need little arenas to learn those things. It's like we love
Yeah.
encapsulating shit and shit. Our
Yeah.
bodies do, we do, like
Yeah.
we like having
Totally.
having it. It's like, yeah, it's experimental.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, my brain is going in so many different directions. But okay, something that's also coming up for me that I have curiosity about with you is like if and how you've seen men face their own shame or how shame comes up.
Oh yeah. Um, I would say sometimes shame can be around body image, though I don't notice it as much because I think I do provide a place where like any anybody, any it's like welcome. Like I've had clients say like, "Oh, I'm overweight. I just want you to know," or like, "Hi, I have this," and I'm like, "Nah, man. Like that's not we're just bodies. We're just little meatballs. We're gonna have fun." Like, and I do notice that there is shame around appearance, especially as like people get older. Like there is a bit of like, the virility and that element.
Mhm.
Though I will say my older clients do really enjoy learning different ways to be erotic because of that. Um, so to be more clear about what that means is regardless of age, I would say just erectile dysfunction in general being something that creates a shame, or not being able to get hard fast, which is something that
Oh,
I, and honestly, as a person who is in this space, I do notice I'm like, there are a lot of people who give hand jobs that or want to have sex or want to do something that get really impatient with their partners. It's not just like a made up shame that these people are carrying,
oh
right?
no,
Like it's
totally.
like and and there is
Or
that
like the
kind of
person
moment.
on the other side of the penis haver, let's say,
Yes.
interprets the penis haver getting hard very quick and makes meaning out of that, right? Like, oh, that must mean that I'm
Yep.
really desirable. And then
Yep.
if that's not happening, they're like, well, that means that I'm an ugly hag. That none of that's true.
Right. And that's also the game, right? Like it's like realizing and like having that moment of like it has nothing, it might have nothing to do with you, dog.
Yeah.
Like and it usually doesn't. It might have something to do with someone else in the past, or it's something to do with them
Mm,
thinking, thinking too much about work or
mm,
whatever. But yeah, creating a space where like that isn't a big deal. Like, and also the patience to just like see what happens. Like that's the other thing is like the rescinding or relinquishing expectation in all aspects of your life, compassionate attachment,
yes.
like
Yes.
uh is kind of the game. And that's another thing that I love to do in my work is being like and life now. But
Yes.
life took a little
Totally.
bit longer.
Totally.
Yeah, like this compassionate attachment outcome being like them being like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why? Oh, and I always say to my clients, I'm like, we do not say sorry in here. I'm like, we do not say sorry when you come, when you don't come. I'm like, we do not, that is not allowed. Like
Totally.
you are perfect just the way you are. Like, absolutely not. And I think that
Totally.
also conversely increases the odds of someone actually feeling safe enough to like get fully hard, to be honest.
In their other
Like,
relationships, like in
no,
their
like in
personal
or in
relationships.
session. No,
Or
like in
in
session.
session. I'm with
I
you.
don't
I'm
like
with
I don't see
you.
what they do, I don't see what they do afterward, but like
Yeah.
I think it gives the vehicle to be like, oh, now I know I just need a little bit more time. I can just tell that person or like, you know, giving them the grace to take their time gives them the knowledge that they can do it too, which is really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I dated a woman like 4, 5, 6 years ago who did the same work that you do. And I remember she told me stories about the way that men, very powerful men, would be completely transformed through the relationship that they had together. Their marriages improved, they started doing better at work. And I thought back then, I was like, you're doing God's work. I mean, if this is what it takes to get men to wake up to their bodies and to their wives, we're talking in big generalizations here, but like, I was like, this is God's work. This is God's work.
Well, you know what? I sure do feel like it sometimes. Sometimes it don't, and that's when I investigate it even more. When I'm like, this is not, this God is not present. I'm like, no, God is so much more present. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
get back in. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And it's usually
Yeah.
because of like aggressive energy. It's usually because
Yeah.
of like a bit of like a vibe that I don't necessarily like find comfortable.
Got it.
It's not unsafe. It's not unsafe.
Mm.
Just like, I could do without this. But I love using that now as a vehicle of investigation to my own comfort and what that means and what this
Right.
person means. And I'm like,
Yeah.
can I give more or do they need less? Or is this not a right fit? Because it's like also like you got to be like, okay, maybe this isn't the right person to work with, and they even if they like you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what when you guys were dating, did you have any of these like dialogues together? Was there any
Yeah.
kind of
Well, I mean, I think that was the first thing that kind of drew us together was me seeing that she was in that space and then me being in the classical space. And it was just like a point of conversation. I was just like,
yeah.
this is interesting how different these things are. But actually on that note, I kind of want to go back to like because you were talking about the Magdalene manuscript. And I wrote on my notes, this is the Neo Tantric source material.
Mm.
But what would you say is like other source material? Like in your experience, what are the other things that people rely on, like philosophically in this space?
Um, Urban Tantra is one that gets tossed around a lot, which is the title that actually makes my like whole body like
I think I've
contort.
heard of that.
I think I brought it up to you because I had the same visceral response. It's like a cute book. It's great. It's like a little like manual of learning about the like chakra system, learning
Yeah.
about like proper ways to like touch different bodies and like and it's that kind of stuff and it's from someone who is in the work. So it's like it's from her history.
Like she tells some
So
stories or like her personal experiences or
a little bit like she goes into like it's really like the first couple chapters are really about like eh, the concept of like ecstasy now and like how to liberate yourself through ecstasy, which again is original tantric kind of thought, but it doesn't continue as through God, right? It's not like
Mhm.
ecstasy to see through the lens of God, which is you, which is we, which
Yeah.
is the whole. It kind of stops there. But it's a lot of that. It's like a lot of just like
Yeah.
more this is yabyum, this is how you do the right this is how you do the embrace hug thing that I was talking about, this is how you do eye gazing, this is how you it's like a manual more or less of like the simplistic kind of ways to learn,
Totally.
and it's cute. It's also, I will say, like the world is a little gatekeepy. You have to pay to play. Like
Mm.
you to be initiated into the work, it's not free.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was actually, come to think of it, before I even started the work, there was a woman that I knew through an ex of mine who did what was called a rose womb ceremony.
Mm.
And she went to some temple in Hawaii and did this whole like Mary Magdalene, like rose frequency medicine kind of stuff. And this was before I stopped drinking, and she was like, "You should be sober for this." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And it was like one of the most psychedelic experiences I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Like, um, and like she was playing music and she was doing this whole like it was like Reiki, it was like a little Reiki, it was a
Yeah.
little Tantra, it was like
Yeah.
this like very divine massage, and I remember just like seeing, and I didn't know anything about the work yet, and I just saw like a Star of David, a cross, and Isis's crown, and I told her that, and she was like, you got girl, like sorry, but you're in now. Like it was kind of crazy
Whoa.
because I didn't know that all those like the whole Magdalene like thing is like we're also descendant of Isis. Like this
I
is
see.
like so sorry, that is actually that the important thread of like why Egypt comes into it is like
Oh, right.
it's like Isis is mama, Magdalene is like
I see.
daughter of the lineage, and like there is this whole like witchy kind of
Yeah.
bloodline, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
not
no.
literally.
No, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I bet there's some like 20 early 20th century occultists that are in the mix with how this stuff came to be.
Totally. But yeah, that was my first, like, I would say foray
Yeah.
into it. And that was years before I started in
Yeah.
where I was in school for acupuncture at the time. So I was like
Yeah.
real down with the
Yeah,
good
I think
vibes.
the nuanced and complicated thing about this is that when I hear you tell that story, like even you getting that imagery tells me that there is some formation of an initiatory tradition at work. Because one of the things that this is the metaphor that I use for initiation. I have a talk on my Patreon about initiation where I talk about this. It's like initiation gives you a key to unlock a door of very specific experiences. And when you go through that door, it's like you're in like an old lounge, like a Mason's lodge of like esoteric knowledge. And all of these different traditions give you access to that room, and the room has imagery inside of it. It has types of furniture, it has wallpaper. It's like the aesthetics of the tradition become the thing that your mind actually kind of has access to. And so like you
Yeah.
weren't like trying to force yourself to see ISIS. It's just that's what
No.
happens when you get into that initiatory space. We can get into a whole conversation about cultural appropriation and like whiteness or whatever, but like that happened to you. And that is what
Right.
initiation does. So we have to kind of like learn how to hold that.
No, it's I love that analogy and like that entire and it's not, I mean honestly like might not even be an analogy. We don't know how the fucking any of this shit works, but like
Totally.
but yeah, and that's what I do love about that experience was that I purposely went into it blind. Like I was like I don't want to know anything. And then having that made me trust myself in an interesting way because I was like, "Oh wow, I am a little like conduit." Like I and we all are, but like to be open to that was pretty cool. And also like it is something that I do as an acupuncturist and also as a Neo Tantric baddie is like I have the information and I love providing context for my patients and for my clients, but I don't want to inform their reality ever. Like I never want them to be like, this is how something's supposed to go because I also don't think I think that's like derogatory ego. Like that's being like, you should feel X, Y, and Z after this. It's like, nah, dude. Like the body is smart. Let the body do the thing. And I'll let them know what I think. I'll let them know like what my history of information is, but I usually don't tell them until after. Like I'll give them informed consent, but I'm like, whatever you felt is correct. So go with that. That's God. That's God. Like, um,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's interesting because like you learn something when you don't tell people what to feel, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Um, and that's also like I think a psychological standpoint, right? Where it's like it is kind of it can be a form of manipulation. Like
Yeah.
I never want that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, you know what's coming up for me is actually we've discussed this because I sent you some podcast with Chris Wallace talking about Neo Tantra versus classical Tantra and the an actual practice for like high level tantric monks, we will say, like in the actual classical tradition, was to go find somebody that they did not find attractive to go and have sex with, to test their detachment. It was a test of detachment. Like, can you experience that ecstasy or even just presence and unity awareness with somebody who you actively do not find attractive? And that being one of the few actual sex rites in the tantric tradition is so interesting to me because that is the polar opposite of what most people are doing when they pick up urban tantra. They want to find their partner more attractive.
right.
They're trying to find the hottest person imaginable, have like a hyperdimensional orgasm, you know? And it's just so interesting how it's been like reversed. And also how like the sexual rites in the actual tradition, that's like after 15 years of initiation, when the ego has been refined to such a point that you can just be with the pure bliss of consciousness in the form of an orgasm. But it's like reversed. But I actually don't think there's anything right or wrong about it. It's like what happens when you speed rail God in the form of going to sex first to find her? What happens in that space? I just think that's curious.
Absolutely. And it just, it's one of those things where I always surrender to that there is no right way because I have no business to tell anyone that. And
Yeah.
I also love and also part I love being wrong. I love someone being like, that's stupid. And I'm like, you're right, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
But like, but no, I
Yeah.
mean, but to speak to your point, I remember you talking about that tradition because I asked you, I was like, what are like, if any, the sexual components that could have been taken and ran with? And like, weirdly, not a lot, but
Yeah.
that that one, I feel like I've fucking done my whole life. Like,
Yeah.
as someone that is uh, almost like absurdist in curiosity. Like,
Hmm.
I do love testing those limits. Like, I love being like, do I, but by testing that limit, it also is just the concept of uh a liberating, I like it really does liberate you from limited beliefs and like narratives that you don't even know if they're yours or where they
Yeah.
came from. And like some of my most sexy,
Yeah.
steamy sessions have been with people that I would never have found attractive in my entire life.
Whoa.
And there is a part of it, which I would say is I think there is an element of like, for me at least, that I get to be so myself because I'm just so dropped into the fact that this would never happen. And
Hmm.
and it gets to be a gift for both of us. Like, because I could be like, oh my God, I'm just like you like you're welcome. But it's not like that. I don't, but like it's
Mhm.
really not. Um, it ends up being like a very much more deeply cathartically interdependent dynamic.
Yeah. Sounds
Um,
like aggressive non-dualism to me.
it's like giving non-dualism,
It's
is it
giving
not?
aggressive non-dualism, which I'm all about. But on the topic of like speed on the topic of speed running God in the form of like finding her first in sexual rights, the phrase that's coming to mind is if you're gonna go where it's hot, you're gonna get burned. And what if actually getting burned is a really interesting and valuable experience? And when I say that, what I mean is like I would say that Neo Tantra or certain aspects of like devotional classical practice are paths of embrace where you're not trying to detach from the world to understand God and find God within you, which is a valid path. The path of embrace is like, I am going to embrace the mother in all of her manifestations. And when I say that, I mean all of it.
Yep.
And the embrace path is hot. It's a hot path. And if you go where it's hot, you're going to get burned. And I think that if like I said earlier, if somebody's path is to know God, they will find God no matter how they get started. And I think that like on the path of like sexuality or bliss or like orgasmic abundance, which is what my old username used to be, which was making fun of all this stuff, like at some point you will figure out that all that pleasure that you get from the physical is not actually hitting the spot. You get thirstier. You get thirstier for like something else. But I think that like if the correct person with the right karma and the right disposition gets into that situation, they eventually realize through speedrunning God through sex that there's actually so much more going on. And that actually might be a good thing. And arguably, all the tantrics were trying to do in the beginning was see how fast can we realize God? What if actually this is the thing that is the most effective? I'm being a heretic a little bit, but like what
We
if
love
that's
it.
it?
You know, it's it for some. It's it for
If
some.
for
And I think
some.
it's and it's but it is the like, we have it's the like having senses in order to evoke God, but also it can just drive the ego further into madness. And it's like, but sometimes, but because they're on the same polarity, if you keep driving into madness, you will get burned so fucking hard that you figure it out.
Yes. Yes.
So I
Yes.
think
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's the same picture.
Mhm.
It's the same fucking picture. Like it's the seeking the end of seeking. It's figuring out once, the God-sized hole becomes so massive and you can only fill it with
Yeah.
so many things or people or parts of
Yeah.
people. And I definitely can
Yeah.
I that to like, yeah, to full circle that one, like I definitely got burned in that way before I started doing the like before I got initiated into the neo-tantric sex world. I was in a horrifically abusive relationship. I was and afterward was fucking anything with a pulse, doing every drug and drinking anything in my sight, and was chasing and simultaneously numbing something that I thought I could never figure out. Like I genuinely was like, I will never recover from this. And there was a false sense of freedom in that because I was like, I'm untouchable now. I can't feel anything. That's
That's
you
interesting.
know. And right before I started the work, I had like a Tony Soprano level panic attack because I stayed up all night doing a lot of cocaine, had a threesome with my ex and our other friend, took a Xanax so I could sleep, and then drove upstate to my brother's house and literally was pounding on my chest because I was having such a panic attack because I was
Mm,
coming down from all
mm,
the drugs.
mm.
And the next day was the first client call I ever had. And I,
Whoa.
within the, yeah, and within the next couple months, stopped drinking. And obviously, in turn, cocaine's not fun when you're sober unless you're really I don't, that's a different hole. But that wasn't my hole. And yeah, and it all just fell apart in front of me. Like
Wow.
it fell apart in front of me. It was like the route showed up
Yeah.
and I was like, I like this too much. I
Yeah.
want to, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I've felt the heat of the other side of it. So the healing that came through with it being the same picture is something that I'm so grateful for.
Mm.
And to be honest, it's taken until this year integrating all of this stuff to enjoy it in my personal life again.
I see. I see.
But yeah, so I'm really grateful for that little arena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, or like your that version of like speed running Grace. I mean, that sounds like a story about Grace to me.
It didn't feel like it at the time.
It never does. But where did it lead you? I actually think that's the
Yeah.
thing that I find so curious about all of it is like it's like with the Neo Tantra, some people might stay at a surface level experience of that, and that's what their soul needs in this lifetime, and that's fine. And then there's other people where it's like what's that saying? It's like at at the bottom of the glass of natural sciences you find God. But then like at the bottom of the glass of Neo Tantra, like maybe you also find God, like actually for realsies though.
Surprise. Uh,
But the thing that I think, okay, this is just me making assumptions and being on my high horse about things, but I think the thing that actually would get somebody to really get onto the path of understanding God through Neo Tantra would be through earnestly and seriously contemplating like what actually is power and what actually is what is the experience that I'm actually having and what's the source of all of the experiences that I've had. And when you go down that rabbit hole, that's when you get to God, is through like what actually is
mhm,
the source of power? Because power is the thing that's getting somebody onto that path. They want to feel the power of pleasure, the power of orgasm, the power of connection. But what actually is power? That's the God contemplation.
absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's again, it's the where, yeah, what is, I mean, I'm a slut for context, and which is why also I found you, but but it is, it's like when, because it's like people say like love and authenticity are like the highest frequencies, right? But like intention to me is
Right.
also like an overarching umbrella of both, because and that is where God enters the chat again, right? Like it's like what is driving the intention. And sometimes you kind of have to laugh at it. Like,
Mm.
the 20th perfume bottle I bought in the last 2 years because I don't drink my alcohol anymore. I spray it on my body and like, but being like at first being like, you have a problem. Like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, just have fucking you get to be in this body. Talk to it. Just fucking buy it. Do you want to buy it? Like,
Yeah.
okay, like, it's like kind of like removing the critic, unless
Uh-huh.
it's like obviously like sometimes you have to keep the critic, but like,
Wait, but are
removing,
you speaking to like what's the intention behind buying all of the perfumes?
yeah, which is like also
Yeah.
like the pleasure, the sex, the orgasmic thing. It's
Yes.
like it is as like you've uh, taught me through the scent, like kind of cloaking, being cloaked in the senses. So
Yes.
it's like I want to smell this thing because it makes me happy, but it's like,
Yes.
is it making me happy because I get to be othered? I get to be like there's like entity that's like unapproachable, or like I'm like this, like I don't know, like what, or is it like, oh my God, I get to smell this because I am a
Yeah.
conscious being.
And the
Thank
smell
you.
itself like opens up a key in the brain that makes God flash forward in your experience. Like that's a good enough reason to spell perfume, in my opinion.
Right.
Also,
And I
perfume
know,
is used in rituals in the tantric tradition all the time. It's called Hina. We,
yeah, I'd
we
be
literally
spraying.
give perfumes to the gods.
Oh, I'd be spraying and praying. I've seen you showed me that. I'm like, and a little sandalwood for you, Mary.
Oh my God, that is I'm calling that's the episode name. Just kidding.
No, it kind of on every level is though.
No, because like spraying, you know.
Saying, yeah, no, no,
Okay.
no. We got the euphemism to literal pipeline. We stay strong. Thank you.
God, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Good.
More spraying. Anyway, so we were talking about intention though. You feel that well, I mean, intention. Oh my God, the power of intention. I think that's like literally what separates the big dogs from the little dogs in the spiritual sphere is what is your actual intention in your actions? Like, what are you actually doing? Are the things that you're
Totally.
doing self-serving, or are you like really investigating something more serious in your actions?
Sometimes I do get to a plane where I'm like, is my ego judging the intention or am I actually holding curiosity for the intention? And like and then for me as an old baby disassociator and people pleaser, I've tried this new crazy thing where I ask intention before assuming, and it's been really helpful. I didn't know you could do that. I'm 34. I just found that out kind of
Wait,
recently.
like in
You
other
could
people or in yourself?
both, but I ask other people because sometimes, the story you make up about yourself is the story you make up about another person is like their intention is this, their intention is, and it's fucked me over. I've lost people because I've assumed intention. I've hurt myself because I assumed my own intention.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think when you start, and again, full circle, full circle squared, I don't even know. But the reason that I ended up reaching out to you in the first place, was because of a thing that you posted that was about conflict, and it was about, do you want to stay in temporary comfort by not addressing a situation for long-term disconnect? And I was like, there's another option, you
Mhm.
know, and there's a liberation in that. And I think also like it allows you to understand like your own comfort with other people's, like obviously we all have intuition, right? Like we're all allowed to be like, I don't trust that person's intention. So fair. But if you have the opportunity and the ability to ask someone their intention, I like giving the opportunity to be disappointed
Yeah. Yeah.
or delighted. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes you're wrong.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
And don't you want to know what's
yeah,
actually going on?
right. And sometimes they might lie, but also that's all up to you to decipher whether or not that person's telling you the truth. But I think, yeah, like allowing,
Yeah.
and as a provider of so many touch dominant forms, I have to be really aware of my intention and like what I am giving to someone else, you know? Like that's no fucking joke to me. But like I have enough like earth and compartmentalized placements that like even if I did, they wouldn't get it. But
Well, I want to kind of start wrapping up, and maybe we can just kind of spitball about this kind of final question that I think kind of summarizes like my main curiosity about all of this, which is what are like people in 2026, modern humans, let's say in the Western paradigm, what are modern people actually searching for and spiritually? And why has Neo Tantra become one of the places that they go looking?
whether or not they know it, it's mama, it's God, like
Hmm.
it's her. I think it's that simple because it is
Hmm.
it's everything. Like we want to feel that feeling that came into awareness the second
Yes.
we started breathing
Yes.
and we lost it.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
homecoming that is indescribable. And that would be the most, to me, like simplistic answer, that that's not what
Yeah,
we
like
all
that's what
say.
they're actually looking for.
But
I think that
what
like a more surface level thing is I think that especially in America we have a lot of religious oppression. People that
for
grow
sure.
up like if you masturbate you're going to grow hair on your hands. So, I mean, you find like a religious tradition that's all about sex, that's going to be mind-blowing to most people. So, I hold
Totally.
space for that. Like I'm like go off, like fix that shit
Absolutely.
that you got traumatized into, please, for the love of God.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say like what isn't a trauma response, right? Like positive or negative. I mean, I think that we all are just a walking trauma response of,
Yes.
and that's just the gift
Yeah.
of being human, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I would say that's a huge element, is like just the overarching bastardization of of carnal desires probably is a
Yes.
huge one. And
Yes.
like and the lack, I think at this point in 2026 is the wedge of intimacy and touch starvation that I touched on a little bit, but
Yeah.
like after COVID, the cultural zeitgeist of like what is socially acceptable really changed,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what is, and there were kids in school that like just didn't get to grind on each other at house parties like
Whoa.
I did. I don't know, I which is a
I know. I
ridiculous
feel
thing to
bad for them.
but I feel bad. I'm like, that was a huge part of my developmental horniness. Like I
Wait,
am so great.
I posted something on TikTok a few weeks ago that has like 300,000 views, where I was basically saying, like, if you were born in the year 2000, you're 26 now, and the best, horniest, most do whatever the fuck you want years of your life were lost to the pandemic. I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
I think I spoke to the bleeding heart of Gen Z. Like,
They they are nostalgic for like our 2010 house parties more than I knew it could be possible because I don't
right.
even remember what they were like, but like but like I think I had a great time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like there is something that happened where because we lost that depth physically, literally like just being on
Yes.
screens, like
Yes. Oh yeah, coming back in the
you
body.
yeah, like you don't know where to put your hands.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot
Yeah.
of like people would like to know where to put their hands.
Yeah. Stop. It also like doesn't feel good to be alive these days. So I feel like a tradition or a path or an opportunity to just like allow feeling good without shame is also on some level like a revolutionary act, given how much it's difficult. You can't leave the house without spending $150. So, life is difficult for a lot of people right now. And so I could
Yeah.
see it being like, oh, this is a whole thing's about just like hedonistically feeling good. Hell yeah. My day to day sucks. What if I balance that out? And actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, something that I've talked about before is embellishing the meat grinder, where it's like if you're going through a period of life where shit's like really hard, like grace is like really forcing you to face something. Saturn is like you are doing your duty, like you are just there's no forgiveness. It doesn't feel like from God. Like you'll be in the meat grinder, but you still get to embellish You could like put some art up on the walls. Like
If you're like bedazzling the meat
you could
grinder.
bedazzle the meat grinder. And so like
Hell
if you're
yeah.
gonna be in the meat grinder, like what if you did have erotic experiences? That's
Totally.
fine. It's come inside of the meat grinder.
That also could be something else.
Some people are like really into that, but
Some people like really some people really just want to blow load in the meat grinder. But
yeah, that's the other
no, I
episode
mean
title.
that's we
I'm
got a
just
lot.
kidding.
We got a lot to work with here. No, but it's so true. And I mean it is like there is something about that where you get more hair on your chest when you have those experiences at a young age, whether you like it to or not. Like the fucking old soul bullshit that men used to say to like sleep with younger women. I never
Yeah,
had that happen.
yeah,
But no, but like in
yeah.
the sense that I think another reason that I was able to step into this work in like the way that I have is because I have had to bedazzle a meat grinder from when I 7, like the ways that I have gotten, but I look at them as shiny, like death and you know sadness in those forms and just like all these like those things that like people say sorry for. I'm always like, don't say sorry. Like you don't know the context and like I have what else am I gonna do? I and that's I like bedazzling meat grinders. It's a really fun place for me. I love it. But it
That's
gives
all
you
we
that
can do.
but it gives you that morbid curiosity to investigate those things, right?
Yeah,
It allows you to to do that stuff with more fun.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And there's a lot of different ways to embellish the meat grinder. When I was first talking about that a while ago, I was saying that during the worst years of my life, like 2018, when I was like full-time caregiving for my alcoholic dementia mom, like 2020 dealing with the eviction battles with her and like trying to prevent her from being homeless, even though I was just being codependent. Like all of those were like the worst years of my life. Like I was embellishing the meat grinder literally with my spiritual practice and like
Yep.
going to the ashram and singing bhajans and singing hymns and like feeling ecstatic states in like what we would maybe call like wholesome ways, right? So like, there's like there's like blowing a load in the meat grinder, and then there's also like the bliss of the one reveling within itself at like a holy place. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
ways to embellish the meat grinder.
Absolutely. I mean, also when I say I tend to have a dark twist to the sentimental things, but in the sense that like when my father died when I was a preteen, I remember like I threw up, and then I remember calling my stepmom and being like, I don't know how to explain it, but he's here. And it was one of my first like real contacts with something outside of myself and outside of this realm that I can understand. And it created a win it would created a direct line to something that I didn't know. So I knew I was spiritual and I didn't know what that meant yet, but so when people are like, I'm sorry your dad died, I'm like, don't.
Wow.
That gave me something that like I am so grateful for. So
Wow.
please don't. And that's I guess similar to the like your experience with your mother. It's like, yeah, I found a holy place. It was inside of my own body. Like I got to speak to him
Yeah.
and hear things that I'd never heard
Yeah.
before. And like that, there was a beauty to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's actually a really beautiful thing to end on, I think,
Yeah, me
is you
too.
sharing that. Thank you for saying that. Ah, so usually at the end of episodes like this, I'm like, I have people on and I'm like, how can people contact you? But I don't know. Do you want to be contacted?
It's funny. I have a different for safety reasons. I have a different name
Yes.
for Tantra. But it's also one of those things that like if someone wanted to talk to me, I wouldn't be like, oh.
Yes.
But yeah, for any of the things, my Instagram is public. I don't really like hide who I am in any fashion. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever ends up in the show notes is what we end up agreeing on with how people contact you. How about that?
Okay. Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
listener, whatever's in the show notes is how you contact me. Yeah, sounds good. I took so much from this. I took so much
Same.
from this. I think I'm gonna be thinking about the things that we talked about in this episode a lot in the next
I'm gonna
couple of days.
I'm gonna be giggling the whole rest of my weekend for sure.
Yes.
I like
Yes. Every time I spray and pray, here we go. Brilliant.
it's incredible.
It's
Oh my
incredible.
God. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for being here. And
thank you for having.
that's it for now. This is how I'm ending the episode. Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find more information about today's guest in the show notes. And if you feel inspired to work with me, you can book a session with me through my website. And if you want more of this kind of conversation, you feel really lit up by these spiritual conversations, my Patreon has deeper talks. I have 50, 60 talks that I've given over the last several years and lots of recorded Q&A sessions, ongoing teachings. I post there all the time, and we have our community Discord server. And until we meet again, keep giving God a good ride.